I'm 35F. I have been married to my husband, Andrew, 39M, for the last 7 years. We have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant. The primary reason why I'm here is because I need someone to hear me out, and what better than anonymity? My husband has always been close to his family, which I didn't find objectionable during our dating phase. His family was sweet to me whenever we met. But soon after our marriage, I realized that he was really close to his mother and sister, like they three have a gang kind of friendship. While this did not impact our relationship as a married couple, I just used to roll my eyes at their ganging up, not at me, and moved on. In any social gatherings or parties, they usually sit together and criticize others. Initially, they tried to involve me in their fun activity, but I'm not that kind of a small talk person, so I stayed out of it. However, they didn't bother me, so I, too, didn't bother them. While my Mill and Sil were not that warm and friendly with me, they used to stay away from my lane. I, too, tried to avoid them as much as possible. I didn't enjoy mocking people on their backs and hugging them when in front. Anyway, after I conceived my first child, I stopped visiting my in-laws' house. Firstly, I was looking for a reason to cut them off. Second, my Mill and Sil were toxic. My husband was kind and gentle, but God knows what happened to him when he met his mother and sister. He would just transform into a different being. Until my husband was civil with me and at home, I didn't care what he did for those 2 to 3 hours he met his family on weekends. I gave him that space. When my daughter, Sarah, was 3, my in-laws started poisoning her ear, saying, "Mama is a bad woman," but my daughter fought back, cried, and said, "Mama is good." She then came home and told me what had happened. My husband laughed at this situation, saying they would have just teased the little girl, but I knew the real intention behind it. Since then, I have never left my daughter alone with those evil women. Things started going south last year when my Sil began dating a wealthy businessman from Scotland. It is understandable that she was over the moon to have found such a man falling for her, but why on earth my husband was so excited about that dig? It really kept me wondering. To give a little background about my in-laws, my Phil retired years ago and lived in his ancestral farmhouse by the countryside. I've met him only a handful number of times, and he's a no-nonsense person, unlike others. Probably, that's the reason he had moved out to seek peace. My Mill and Sil are jobless and surviving on the rent of one of Phil's properties and allowance from him. My husband also pays his mother a part of his salary as an allowance. I have always been self-dependent, so I don't mind Andrew giving some grands to his mother. Coming back to the main point, ever since my Sil started dating that rich man, her attitude changed completely, for worse. She considers herself to be a princess or so. She would often flash those expensive gifts which she got from her boyfriend. At the family gathering or any social event, my Sil left no opportunity to show off to everyone how rich her boyfriend was. The funny part is my Mill also had her feet floating. She would giggle with Sil like they were both teenagers. Their behavior got on my nerves, and my annoyance was clear on my face. It's not that I'm jealous or so, why would I be? The thing is, since my Mill and Sil were surviving on a tiny budget, they never crossed their line because they barely had anything to show off or look down upon me. However, with her new profound love, they both subtly tried to demean me and accused me of being jealous of them. Of course, they didn't say this on my face, but I got the hint from their body language, and some of the relatives also confirmed the same. Soon after this, I got pregnant with my second child, and thank God. It saved from visiting their place. Andrew would insist that I let Sarah spend time with them alone, but Sarah wouldn't budge. She is 5, yet she doesn't want to be with them. I know some of you would blame me for turning my daughter against my in-laws. Let me tell you, children have better senses than adults. They can differentiate between love and fakeness. My first pregnancy was difficult. I was put on bed rest, but my in-laws never visited to check on me. My second one is comparatively easier, but they visit me often. No, not to check on me but to show off their new jewelry collection, a trendy dress, or a bag worth thousands of dollars. My Sil would just go gaga over her boyfriend's richness and how they are planning for a grand wedding in Scotland and so on. I just nodded with a plastered smile on my face and sighed under my breath, good for you. A week ago, my Mill and Sil showed up. Out of the blue, they started praising my cooking. Sil said that she loved the apple pie and bacon donuts I made. Rather than happy, I got suspicious of their gesture. I asked them why they suddenly remembered that dessert I had served them probably years ago. They were taken aback that instead of thanking them for their kind words, I directly jumped to the point. Sil said that she had been craving an apple pie for a long time, and none of the restaurants were able to match the taste I baked. So, they wanted me to prepare those for her. I thanked them and told them I wasn't keeping well and baking would take additional effort, which I couldn't manage with my pregnancy and a toddler. They were not ready to take no for an answer and still insisted that I bake it for her. I could not push back further and said I would try to bake it whenever I felt okay. My Sil hugged me, the first time after my wedding, and said she wanted it on Sunday. I didn't say anything further or notice why she asked me to have it on Sunday. To be honest, I didn't intend to make it at all, I said I'd try just to dodge the bullet at that moment. As the week progressed, I was so exhausted with my pregnancy and Sarah that I forgot about the whole stuff. On a Friday night, during dinner, Andrew told me that he would be busy for the weekend as Syl's boyfriend and his family were visiting them for dinner that Sunday. I was shocked. At that moment, everything made sense to me. That sudden praise, request for apple pie and bacon donuts, and why did she want it on Sunday? Well, I know I bake the best apple pie one would have. I mean, I'm truly good at it, but this doesn't mean I would give in to their trap. I informed Andrew about his mother and sister's visit and the request for dessert. Andrew said that his Syl's boyfriend and his Scottish family have a sweet tooth, and they have heard a lot about American apple pie and wanted to taste the authentic one. Andrew almost blurted out how his Syl had boasted about herself that she could bake the best of this dessert and promised to serve his family during family dinner. I was aghast. I told Andrew that I was not going to take up this hard work in this condition when someone else was going to take the credit for it, and on top of that, I was not even invited to the dinner. He said I was in my 7th month, and his mother thought I would be uncomfortable in front of the guests, so they skipped inviting me. Even if I believe her intention to be genuine, which is not, why didn't they tell me about the dinner when they visited me asking for dessert? Andrew just shrugged his shoulder and said he didn't know. Andrew went to pick up his father on Saturday and said he would return home on Sunday night after dinner. Of course, I wanted to make a big deal out of it and fight with Andrew, but I chose my mental peace, knowing that whatever I did would not stop him from attending that function. On Sunday, I deliberately switched off my phone and locked myself in my room with Sarah. I guess my Mill and Syl tried to contact me on my cell phone, and when it was not reachable, they sent a voicemail on the landline. I ignored the call on my landline as well. Although I was not at peace knowing they would curse me for backing out, I felt satisfied that I didn't give in to their demands. On Monday morning, when I switched on my phone, I saw my phone flooded with missed calls and voice messages. It started with pleadings and ended with the curses. As soon as they got the notification that their messages were delivered to me, I got a call from my Mill. Oh God. That was the longest monologue I ever heard. I always knew her true colors, but that day, I got to know her bitter tongue. She accused me of ruining their dinner party and called me a witch. Apparently, they thought I would get the dessert, so they didn't prepare or order any dessert because my Syl wanted to impress her would-be in-laws by posing my food as hers. So, in the end, the sweet-toothed Scots had to leave the dinner table without any dessert and a sense of dissatisfaction. And guess what? I get the blame for their disappointment. While my Mill showered me with curses, I could only imagine their funny faces on the dinner table. I was wondering if it wasn't a big deal. They could have just ordered something from outside. I know my Syl boasted of her culinary skills, but restaurant-made stuff could have at least saved them from the embarrassment. Anyways, that's not my problem. I told the same and hung up the call. Besides all those messages from Mill and Syl, there was one late-night message from Andrew that he wouldn't return that night. He would be back on Monday after work. When Andrew returned home in the evening, he was silent but not angry. I tried to tell him what his mother had told me, but he cut me off, saying he didn't want to be dragged into this situation. He said I should be lucky he was not scolding me for embarrassing his family last night, so I should not expect him to take my stand against whatever his mother and sister said to me. I lost my mind at this. I didn't take his mother and sister's words seriously because I knew they were evil, but what the heck was Andrew up to? I mean, first of all, he should have taken a stand when I was cut off from the family dinner. How on earth I'm responsible for ruining an event to which I was not invited? It's been since then, and we are not on talking terms. Neither he nor I have made any effort to talk it out. Although in my mind, I feel I'm so done with them, deep down, I sabotage myself thinking, did I really ruin their reputation by turning down their demand? I don't know, guys. Update 1, hi all, it's been 2 months since my original post. I'm in my 40th week, just almost about to pop. So, in the aftermath of my last post, I realized that I have been way too tolerant of my husband. After 2 weeks of that incident, I had to go for my scan, where Andrew accompanied me. On our way home, I tried to discuss the situation, but he asked me to move on and focus on my health. He was also normal by then. I took it positively that he did not hold on to any grudge, but somewhere, I felt his behavior to be secretive. Anyways, just today morning, I woke up to see Andrew packing his bags. When I opened my eyes, he was trying to stuff his wedding suit into one of his bags. I shivered at that sight and almost yelled at him, asking him the reason for the packing. He said that he was going to Scotland for his sister's wedding. I was lost for words. I mean, when? How did these happen? I bombarded him with the question that when the date got fixed, why was I not informed, and on top of that, how could he leave me on my due date? Yes, I'm due tomorrow. He tried his best to dodge the questions or answer them in a single syllable. I told him that he just could not avoid me like that. I was angry, hurt, sad, shocked, all at the same time. Could you imagine your husband leaving you alone with a toddler during your due date? I can't express more. I won't lie that I was calm. I held his shoulder and nudged him for an answer. He said that it was planned last moment and he had to go. His sister's would-be in-laws insisted on this particular date, and he couldn't do anything about it. Of course, he can do everything about it. He can skip the wedding. While we were middle of this, Our doorbell rang. Andrew rushed to answer it as if he was expecting someone. That was his mother. She barged into the house, shouting at Andrew for running late. She dragged his bags outside the room, saying that he didn't need to pack the remaining stuff because whatever was short, they could buy from Scotland. The sentence came as if to mock me. I wanted to smack her head at that moment when she smirked at me. I realized that it was too late to stop Andrew or fight over it, so I went back to my room, threw the remaining of Andrew's packed bag in the living room, and locked the door. I heard my mill cursing me at the top of her voice. They left shortly after that. I then realized why Andrew had acted so secretively for the last month. And I was thinking that he was just torn between me and his family. I was in deep pain, both mentally and physically, crying out my heart loud. I realized that the chaos woke up my daughter Sarah. She came to me, hugged me, and said that I would be fine and I should be excited because we would soon have a baby in the house. Her innocent words melted my heart, and I wrapped her in my arms. We spent the day playing in bed. I tried to keep myself distracted, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get over the fact that Andrew abandoned me in this condition. I am breaking down every now and then. I have called up my sister to stay with me tomorrow because I don't know when my labor will kickstart. I had to make this update today because what happened today is choking me. Wish me a healthy and peaceful labor. Update 2. Hello everybody. I know, it has been months since I updated. First of all, I'm blessed with a baby boy. Thank you. So okay, that day, soon after my post, I logged into my Facebook and saw Andrew happily posting pictures of himself and his family enjoying in Scotland. I just could hold back myself and broke down. It was past midnight, and Sarah was fast asleep. I went to the washroom and let my emotions flow. I had been holding it throughout the day in front of Sarah. I cried for almost an hour. I was on the verge of fainting when I realized that my water had broken. I somehow crawled to the living room to call the ambulance. I have a very hazy and vague memory of what happened in between. The next I remember was being in the ambulance carried to the hospital. When my condition stabilized, I cried out Sarah's name. The nurse said they found Sarah crying beside me while I was passing in and out of consciousness. As the house was empty, they brought Sarah along with them. The poor soul was sitting in the front with the attendant. I was relieved that my daughter was safe. Within a few minutes of arriving at the hospital, I gave birth to my baby boy. The nurse said they tried to contact my husband, but his number was unavailable. My sister arrived in the wee hours of the morning. She lived 120 miles away. When my sister got to know about my situation, she rebuked me for not calling her prior. I thought I had a day. She also asked me to get rid of Andrew ASAP. Since I was discovered in such a situation by the hospital officials, they informed the police regarding the same. The police asked me if my husband abused or assaulted me because they perceived that I was abandoned in that condition. I told them the truth. It was not physically assaulted but mentally and emotionally, yes. Andrew was charged with negligence charges. His negligence indeed threatened 3 lives: Sarah, my unborn baby, and mine. It gives me chills that what might have gone wrong that day if I couldn't call the ambulance at the right time. I feel so grateful to the Lord that He kept us safe. I was discharged 2 days later. By then, my parents had also arrived. They lived 2,500 miles away. My parents were adamant about suing Andrew and his family for mentally torturing me during my pregnancy. They packed up my stuff from the house while I was still in the hospital. I, too, didn't want to stay with Andrew anymore. Who would want such a kind of husband? After being discharged, I went to my hometown with my parents and sister. It was almost a week after my delivery that Andrew returned home. It appeared from his Facebook activity that they extended their stay after the wedding to explore Scotland. It amazed me to see how stress-free he enjoyed his vacation, unbothered that his wife was due during that period. He didn't even call or text me during that period. I also didn't disturb him because I had planned to ruin him and his family. A week later, when he returned, he found an empty house, legal notice of divorce, and charges police pressed him with. He had a week to appear before the police to give his statement. He panicked, called me 100 times. I won't lie, I enjoyed the sight of his endless calls and pleading voicemails. Soon, I got calls from my mill and voicemails begging me to talk to them. I told my parents about it. They called Andrew and asked him to visit our house. He flew down to our house on that very day with his mother. My parents humiliated both of them for torturing me and threatened to ruin both of their lives. Andrew insisted on talking to me in private. He literally begged me for forgiveness and reconciliation. He started emotionally trapping me by saying that our child needs a father too, and I shouldn't deprive them of happiness. I asked him the gender of our second child, and he was dead silent. My boy was a week old, but his father didn't know he was born. Do you think a child needs that kind of a father? His mother, too, pleaded for forgiveness, saying that these court cases would damage their reputation in front of their new relatives, Sill's in-laws, but I didn't care. I just laughed at her reason. Ultimately, when they were asked to leave, they insisted on seeing the newborn, but I didn't want their eyes and shadow on my children. My father chased them out of the house. Meanwhile, I contacted my Sil's new husband on social media. I introduced myself as we had never met. To my surprise, he was also suspicious of Andrew and his family when they kept me aside from the family dinner and the wedding on the excuse of pregnancy. I told him about everything which happened to me. He said he was surprised to find Andrew chilling out during the wedding while leaving his wife in labor. Although it was too late, he asked me about my Sil, and I told the truth about her nature. And also about that apple pie thing. He said their behavior was indeed shady, but now it made sense to him. Apparently, my Sil has posed herself to be a chef, and my Mill boosted her lies, saying that they owned a chain of restaurants in the countryside. I revealed the truth that his new lovely wife has never even boiled an egg. He called her a gold digger and assured me he would keep our conversation discreet. I told him I wasn't bothered even if he revealed that I had exposed all the truth. In fact, I wanted them to know that it was me. It's been 10 months since that D-Day. My divorce got finalized last week. I got sufficient alimony on the grounds of maternal and child negligence, mental torture during pregnancy, and safety hazards. I got the share in the house, too, because I, too, had contributed when we bought that house. I have given the ultimatum of 3 months for Andrew to pay my house share, or else it will be put up for auction. Plus, I got child support too. The interesting part is, soon after my conversation with Sil's husband, I got texts from my Sil accusing me of ruining her life. Later I got to know that her husband had got an investigation done on my in-laws' family background. The truth was revealed that they were no wealthy as they had posed themselves to be, and my Sil has also lied about many things, including her job. As per the information from some of the gossipmonger relatives, the Scotts have sent back Andrew's sister and have filed for a divorce. They have accused her of money laundering. Apparently, she was stealing money from her in-laws' locker and sending it to her mother. Her husband labeled her a gold digger because she had already sucked thousands of dollars from him while they were dating. I enjoy this gossip with a sip of wine. I wish the trio, husband, Mill, Sil, a happy gossip life in poverty.